Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome. Today, I'm starting a new journey of trying to go live every day, at least every weekday, and talking more about this whole creator space. I feel like there's just such a need for knowledge and know-how, and then ultimately, monetization strategies. So, um, excited about this, as a way to show up and share what I know. I've been selling my influence for years now. And there's such back in the day, which is not that long ago, honestly, even, just a few years ago, a lot of brands were looking for bigger influencers. They were looking to do business with, people who had, thousands, literally thousands of followers, thinking that that was a better return on their investment. Today, that dynamic is totally flipped, and why there's so much more opportunity, I think, for the small community builder, the person who's either just getting started and or who has a small connected community that, may not be massive. We all have influence. I think that is something I really wanted to start with. So as you guys are coming in, just give me a shout out. Where in the world are you today? Good morning, Paul. Always lovely to see you. When I say we all have influence, we literally all have influence. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples of this. If you think you don't have influence, then I want you to think about it maybe through a different lens. If you go to a restaurant and you like it or you don't, it depends on, your experience there. You tell people about it, right? If you love it, you tell other people about it. And by virtue of that, they'll go and go. If you love it and you told them that you love it, more than likely, they're going to try it out if they've never been there before. If you don't like it, they mark it off their list. I mean, that's just the way it goes. That's influence. Your opinion matters, in that scenario. It's the same with literally anything. In the online space, think about it. If you go and leave a review on Amazon, people pay attention to those reviews. They look at them. That's influence. From a community perspective, a lot of times people are like, well, what's an influencer, in the social media space? It's not the same, I don't think, in the context of what I think a lot of people assume it is. An influencer is somebody who can influence buying decisions. So if I were to say to you guys today, I would be like, hey, I'll just, I got my book here from yesterday. I'll just use this. No, my book isn't a good example because that's self-serving. Anything, like I'll just pick something up off my desk here. Like I got this was a gift to me, but let's assume that, I paid for it. It's a little stand for my phone. And I was to say, oh my gosh, this person, this brand, this whatever, I love it. I love it because XYZ. And you were like, wow, Kim said she loved this and I need that. So I'm going to go buy it. That's influence because you listened to something I shared in that context. And so influence is something we all have. We all have the ability ultimately to influence a buying decision, whether we're just talking to a neighbor who wants to know what the greatest restaurant is that you've ever been to, or the greatest latest movie or whatever, or if we're talking to our community and we say, hey, I love this tool, or I love this product, or I love this whatever, people pay attention to that. I've seen total strangers on social media talking about it doesn't matter. It could be like one of the things that I see frequently is shoes and makeup. I'm a girl, I like the things like that, right? So if somebody says, hey, I love these shoes for whatever purpose, right, or whatever reason, I'm like, well, let me go check those out. Like, I need to go check those out. So the point is that we don't even have to know people in some context to, like, somebody just says it in the social space and you're like, yeah, I need to go check that out. So point is, we all have influence. I want to start there. And then I'm going to dig into really the focus today is talking about the layers and the levels of influence and why those small communities are having such amazing success today. And why I think there's a lot of opportunity for those of you who have those smaller communities. And then throughout the week, we're going to be building on this because I think there's so many people out there that are not monetizing their influence. Okay. So I'm all, if you've been following me for any length of time, you guys know I'm all about trying to help people make more money in their business. So quickly, if you've never been on one of my shows before, my name is Kim Garst. I am an online business pro expert, whatever word you want to use. I've been in the online space for 30 years. Built multiple seven-figure businesses over the years. And my passion really is shortening the learning curve, helping people make more money in their businesses or getting to the money faster. So today, like I say, I'm going to talk about the whole influencer space, break it down for you and, tell you what brands are looking for when it comes to, the pieces and parts of an influencer opportunity and why most of you already have these things. Okay. So, and then throughout the week, I'm going to go digging into this a little bit more because I find that there's so many people that do have influence. They already have it. They just don't know how to monetize it. They don't know how to negotiate with brands. They don't know how to find the brand. They don't know how to pitch a brand, all the things. So we're going to be going through, there's going to be a whole series this week on exactly this. Every week we're going to be, every day this week for the rest of the week, I'm going to be talking about influencer marketing specifically and how you ultimately monetize your influence. All right, I'm going to pull my screen because I do have a few things to share with you today. Let's see. So the first thing, I'm going to reverse engineer this. So I want you to think about this in light of starting kind of like this pyramid, right? You got the top pile and you're working your way down. So if you envision it like a funnel with the top, the biggest number at the top and work your way down to the smallest number. So I'm going to break down the levels of influencers for you first, because I think this is important. And in the past, or maybe even today, you may think that, you don't have influence or you can't get a brand gig because you don't have 1 million plus followers. I mean, how many of you guys, in fact, please drop in. I would love, and there's no judgment across the board here. This is all about helping you wherever you are. So if you don't mind, I would love it if you would drop in how many followers you have in the social media space. It could just be, a lump sum number. It could be, hey, I've got this many followers on Instagram, or I've got this many people on my business page on Facebook. Wherever you feel like you have a community, would you drop it in to the comments and let me know? Because I want to talk to individuals about their opportunities. Okay. If you have 1 million plus followers, let me know. I want to know. But I'm going to break it down. So mega influencers are someone who's got basically 1 million plus followers. And those are few and far between. And a lot of us think of those people like, the Kardashians and, sports figures and movie stars. They're kind of got like a celebrity feel to them usually. Now I do have over 1 million followers, but I don't feel like I'm a celebrity. Like that's not my thing. It's not at all. But in the context of breaking this down, I wanted to kind of give you the layers, the levels, if you will, of the types of influencers. Now, there's obviously still brands that go for these bigger influencers. A lot of times it's name recognition alone. Like if you get a gig with Kim, a brand wants to work with Kim Kardashian, for example, and they do, obviously, then there's a lot of name recognition there. But they're also really looking for those smaller influencers. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. I hate this. It keeps going backwards on me. Macro influencers are the next layer down, if you will. And they're someone that's like between the 500K and the 1 million follower range. And then beyond that, you've got what I call the mid-tier influencer, somebody who's like 50 to 500K. So I saw someone here a minute ago who's at the 400K range. 400,000 range. That is a mid-tier influencer, essentially. You've got some that are a little beyond that scope. Here's someone that's got 8,000. So again, find where do you fall into these brackets, okay? And then we're going to talk about why there's opportunity there for you. The micro influencer. And I would say the micro influencer and then the next layer down is super, super rich in opportunity right now. A micro influencer is between the 10,000 and 50,000 range as it relates to their social following. And then the nano influencer is 1,000 to 10,000 followers. And this is really where the money pile is stacking up pretty richly right now. So I see some that have the 1K, some are at 750. You are really at a place where, people are looking to connect, brands are looking to connect with you. Why? And why is it different today? So like I said in the past, I've done a tremendous amount of brand, AKA influencer work over the years, and I've learned a lot from it. And through this journey, it's just so fascinating now. And I'm actually really excited to see this shift because I've seen it in my progression, my growth progression, where my following is not near as connected as it was when I first started. You start building a community of people and all these people start following you. And when you first are starting, that connection is really, I would call it intimate, where you get to talk with people way more. You recognize names, you recognize faces, you have conversations with people quite frequently. And then it gets bigger and it gets bigger, and there's all these new faces all the time. You can't keep track of it any longer. You don't have as many one-to-one conversations anymore, and you don't stay as connected to your community just because you can't. It's physically impossible to talk to 1.5 million people a day. Right? It's just very difficult. But when you have a smaller, small knit community, it's super powerful. And it is something that a lot of brands have realized that is a differentiator for them. So on average, brands make 5 times their investment when working with an influencer. Now, I want to say this because this is super, super important. Now, I will talk more about this later, but a lot of times brands will come my way and they will say, hey, we want XYZ. Maybe they want me to highlight a tool or a product or, whatever. And I'll say, my first question to them is, what is your goal? And this is super, super important. And lots of times they're wishy-washy. Like they don't tell you, they'll be like, oh, brand. So let's look at this, break this down. What could be their goal? Like maybe it's brand awareness. Maybe it's, maybe it's getting more signups. So let me give you a couple of examples. So I did a influencer gig with Asus Computer. So Asus sells their computers through retailers. So they were very upfront. They're like, there's no way for us to track sales because everybody has to buy, like they have to buy from Amazon or they have to go to a Best Buy or whatever. We're just looking to get awareness around our new laptop. And I'm like, deal. This is the easiest thing I've ever done because those types of brand deals are super powerful for the influencer because there's no metrics tied to it. So there's no expectation of return for the brand that's directly tied to you, right? So those are great gigs to have. But most of the time, if they tell you that, unless there's extenuating circumstances, just like I just shared with you, which is, hey, all their sales are through retailers, most of the time they're lying. So I've had brands work with me before and they're like, yeah, we just want brand awareness. But then when you do whatever they want you to do and they don't get sales or signups or whatever, they're like, well, we didn't get any results from that. Well, It's because I did a brand awareness campaign, not something that was designed to do to generate signups or sales. So there is a difference, and I'm going to talk about that. I'll probably talk about that maybe even tomorrow. So understanding the brand, what the brand wants in return is again super powerful. That always needs to be your first question. But again, brands are getting results working with influencers. And why wouldn't they, want, if they invest $5,000 with a brand influencer, with an influencer, and they get 5,000 in return, like that's a no-brainer, right? Even us as business owners can do this too, by the way. All right. So super powerful to understand that brands are lining up. The influencer marketing is probably hotter today than it has ever been. And you have influence and you can sell that influence. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation real quick. So things that brands are looking for that when they are trying to make a decision on whether to work with an influencer, one of the things that they're focused on is the platform that they're trying to target. So, for example, a lot of brands, the top, and I'll go over this in a little bit more in just a second, but a lot of brands are looking at both Instagram and YouTube as their primaries. It doesn't mean that that's the only platforms that they're super interested in, but those two platforms are pretty powerful right now. In the past, when I've worked with brands, usually they want me to leverage all of my communities because I do have communities on all the socials. So they usually want me to share it on Facebook, share it, wherever I have a social media community, they want to leverage that. But if you just have a very small community on Instagram, or, you have a business page that has a connected community, or you have a Facebook group even, where you have a community of people, that is very powerful. Okay. So the platform itself is important. Reach, what size is your account? So going back to those, when I broke down at the beginning of this, the size of your accounts essentially. So what size is your account? Do you have, 1,000 followers? Do you have, 500,000 followers? Whatever. They absolutely are looking for that. But this used to be a huge qualifier. This used to be the only qualifier, honestly. They're like, how big's your community? All right, if your community is 1 million, you have to be influential and we want to work with you. That is no longer the case. And that's, again, why I really want to talk about this. It's so shifted. Now they're digging deeper. They've learned their lesson. They've paid the big influencers and not got the response that they, or the results that they thought they might, because they're thinking, wow, if this person has 1 million followers, then, 250,000 of them at least are going to take some action. No, that's not what happens. And the reason is, the bigger your accounts get, the less engagement that you're ultimately going to drive. So content is king. Everybody knows that. Without content, you can't get engagement. It's like, what happens first, the chicken or the egg? You have to have content in order to get people to engage with it, right? But this is where I think the difference is, and why those smaller accounts are so powerful right now. Engagement is the kingdom. I mean, seriously, if you don't have engagement, it doesn't matter how amazing your content is. It doesn't matter, if you have 1 million followers or if you have one. If people are not engaging with it, it's not as impactful. It doesn't drive as much influence. I mean, the influence you drive is less, I guess. Maybe that's the best way of saying it. Let me give you a couple of examples here. So if you take a look, you've got Kim Kardashian on the right, and she's got 177 million followers. And you may be like, oh my gosh, like who has that? I'm like, who has that many followers? Well, Kim Kardashian and probably others as well. And then you've got a smaller influencer who's got a little over 100,000 followers. even the post, I mean, I don't know the age of the accounts, but it's pretty incredible. You've got the smaller influencer who has an engagement rate of almost twice, well, not quite twice, but 2.87 is her engagement rate. And Kim Kardashian's engagement rate is 1.5. Now, if you took that, I'm just speculating, if this smaller influencer had 10,000 followers, her engagement rate would be even higher. And guess what? Her account would be more valuable to a brand. Her influence is going to be more valuable to a brand than Kim Kardashian. Kardashian does not want to come off my tongue today. So here's an average engagement rate for Instagram and Twitter, and this was in 2021. If you have less than 1,000 followers, your engagement rate on average is roughly 7.2%, versus 100,000 plus followers, it's about 1.4. And I actually did some research this morning because I was curious about this. I took my account, I took a few other people's accounts, and I ran them through an influence rater just to see. And this is right on. This is incredible. I was like, wow. So my account, which has more than 100,000 followers, right? Or well, on Instagram it doesn't. So on Instagram it's less than 100,000. So 1.9% is, and that was pretty accurate for my account, was about the 1.9% engagement rate. And then some of the smaller influencers, people I know that have smaller communities, their engagement rates were right in alignment. In some cases more. In some cases, I ran across a few people whose engagement rate was, 10%. So powerful. And y'all, this is why I'm telling you this. The brands know it. They have woke up and they're smelling the coffee, and they are reaching out and wanting to work with the smaller brands. So why? Well, one, their engagement rate is, let me get this over here. One, their engagement rates are higher, which means their communities are more connected, which means they're more responsive to the person. They're paying more attention to the influencer, right? They're engaging more with their content. They are probably more likely to take action if that influencer says, hey, go do this, that, or the other thing. So that's one thing. The second reason is they are traditionally cheaper or no fee. So this is where I'm going to rant, okay? Stop. I'm going to say it again. Stop. I'm going to say it a third time. Stop giving away your influence. If somebody approaches you and says, hey, let me give you these eyeglasses, another pair of red glasses, y'all. I want to give you my eyeglasses, and all I want in return is for you to tell your 1,000 people about them. All right, that just burned my bottom a little bit, okay? So if a brand approaches you and says, I'm going to give you this, whatever, it could be anything, and it could have some value. Like, I'll give you an example, something that happened to me. Flex Desks, I believe it was, if memory serves me correct. This has been several years back. Flex Desks reached out to me, and they said they had the standing desk, the ones that, and they adjust. So, you press the button and it's automatic, and they're like, we'll send you this desk. And I'm like, well, that's lovely. Now I know better. I knew better at the time because I'd done some brand work and some influencer work. And I was like, happy to have the desk, because I would have to have the desk because I'm not going to recommend something that I haven't tested and tried. FlexiSpot. Thank you, Rhonda. I couldn't remember the name of it. FlexiSpot was the brand. So you're going to have to send me the desk regardless, but I have a fee associated with this. But lots of times with small influencers, they don't know any better. They don't know that just getting something for free. I mean, you think about it and you're like, I want that thing for free. That's amazing. Because when I started, I did it. I was like, somebody would say, we'll give you our tool for free. And all we want is you to tell everybody about it. I did it. many times, y'all. So, but I've learned over the years, and I'm trying to help you to not make that same mistake. So if a brand approaches you and says, yeah, we're going to give you something for free. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. But, we have a rate fee associated with this. That's where the breakdown is, I'm seeing is, from a monetization's a point of view, you got to know your worth. If you don't value yourself, then neither will they. And you've spent a lot of time and energy and creating content and nurturing the community that you've built. Why would you give it away for just a freebie? Just saying. Okay. We're going to talk more about that this week too. So you'll probably hear me say that again, because like I say, I see it happening so often, and I was guilty of it too. So I get it, but I'm hoping that I can so help you not make those mistakes. Okay. So let me ask a quick question of you guys. So would you rather be king of the content with no engagement? You put out a piece of content and it's crickets. Or would you like to rule the kingdom with engagement and potentially have more brand gigs? I'm just saying, which would it be? I'm just, y'all drop it in. Is it king with crickets, or, which is sometimes true with big influencers. Sometimes you put content out because your community is just not as connected as it used to be. The fourth thing that brands are looking for is they're trying to find the perfect influencer to work with, is they're looking to make sure that you have a expertise or a niche, and your community is associated with that niche. Meaning, if somebody was to approach me and say, hey, Kim, I want you to share my dog food brand with your community, that would be weird, because my community are small business owners. Now, a lot of them probably have dogs, but that's not my specialty. Like, if I was in the pet industry, and this is fascinating. I got to tell you guys this too. So there is a ton of pet profiles that are making six figures, guys. I kid you not. There are people who have puppies. They create an Instagram account for that puppy. They chronicle the puppy's lives, or the cat. It could be whatever. It could be an iguana. I mean, honestly, there's all kinds of things. But I will say that cats and dogs do seem to perform the best. But I've seen the little pet piggies. I've seen, what are some other things? Cows. I've seen cows that have their own account. And this is where you really need to lean in and hear this. They are created, and because like the cats and I've said this for years, dogs and cats rule the internet, right? It used to be just cats. It's now, I think it's both. Dogs and cats rule the internet, because what happens when we are thumbing through the feed, we are attracted to the cutesy stuff. Like, it's babies, it's like dogs, cats. It's a universal thing. It's a thumb stopper. So people are building entire brands around their pets. And this is where I'm getting to the point here. And they are creating revenue from those accounts. So pet brands are coming to them and saying, hey, I'll give you a quick example. My friend Shalene's daughter just bought a puppy not long ago. She calls him Johnny Cash. He is a pug. He's just a cute little thing. I think I think he's a pug. I don't know. I don't care. He's just adorable. Anyway, I mean, they're getting brand gigs all the time for this little brand new puppy that's got his own Instagram account. But obviously a lot of people sometimes say, well, that's because she's Shalene's daughter, she's already got name recognition. But I see it's not just her. I see so many other people who just randomly start an Instagram account for their pet, and they are driving revenue. So a brand will come to them and say, hey, will you share my leash or my dog food? Or, this is an all a healthy product line, all natural product line for pets. Will you share it? and they are driving tons of revenue through their pet account. So sometimes we just got to it's not necessarily in the lane that we think we are already in. We could create a whole separate thing and have an opportunity knocking. You only need 1,000, roughly 1,000 followers to get started with this concept. And when you have something that is, a universal thing that people are constantly looking at, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I just love it. I think there's just, like I say, so much opportunity these days. So the niche or the community, it has to match. Like here's another example. If I'm a fitness expert, or you are, it would be disingenuous for you to start sharing financial services. So the brand is looking for you to have alignment with whatever their product or service is, and the community that you serve. They want to make sure that you have a community of their buyers, if that makes sense. And likewise, when you're looking for brand deals, you want to do the same. You're looking to, you want to be authentic with your community. You don't want to be a fitness pro who's saying, look at this financial services thing that I just came across. That would be weird, right? So, it goes both ways. You want to make sure if a brand approaches you that whatever they want you to promote for them is something that matters to your community. Otherwise, you are going to burn your community fast, quick, and in a hurry. Okay. So that's super important to remember. Okay. The fifth thing is the type of content. Like, different brands will want different things. They'll want, and again, it just totally depends on what it is that they're wanting to affect from a goal set. So I will say, if somebody is wanting signups, I'll give you an example. If I am working with a tool, a SaaS tool, like, they are looking to get more people to use their tool. It could be anything. It could be an SEO tool. It could be a live streaming tool. It could be whatever. But the end goal for them is to get more signups. Well, the way that you as the influencer have to look at this is you have to have some knowledge. And I'm going to talk a lot more about this later, but I'll just touch on it real quick. You have to have a little bit of knowledge on what's going to affect the right transformation that they're seeking. Meaning, if they want you to write a blog post and they think that they're going to get 100 signups as soon as that blog goes out into the interwebs, they're wrong more than likely. Unless your blog community is super connected to you, and or you have tons of traffic. But if you're a smaller influencer and they want you to write a blog post, you don't get a lot of traffic to your website, that is an unrealistic expectation. That's just simply not going to happen. A blog is what I call the long play. My blog creates, 6 figures in revenue through affiliate links, but it's piecemeal. It comes in, bits and pieces here and there, because traffic goes to different things at different times, right? So a blog is a long play. If a company or a brand is wanting you to get signups, then you have to come up with a different type of campaign that's going to affect that kind of a number. So knowing, what type of content is going to help the brand get the goal that they want, I'll do a separate training on that later this week. We can certainly talk about that. Content rights. This is another thing. So if you plan to use the content in your own business, or you want to sell it to another brand at a later point in time, whatever, you have to negotiate these things. Most of the time they want exclusive, they want, in some cases, exclusive rights to it. But this is why you can also charge more for exclusive rights. And this is the reason I bring it up. Content rights are important. You might want to use it in another capacity somewhere along the line. For example, I once created a training course for a brand, And it ended up that we negotiated they negotiated exclusive rights to it, because my initial thoughts was, well, if I create it, I can also use it in my business, or I might, ultimately use it in some other capacity. So establishing the content rights is something they'll look at, but you also need to look at. And then charging for exclusivity. If they want it exclusively for themselves, then you charge more for it. Okay. And then let's take a look at the top influencer platforms today. A lot of us, like when I first started in social media, my focus was primarily and heavily on the more prevalent social platforms at the time, Facebook and Twitter, right? Some of the newer platforms like Instagram, YouTube has always been, I think, a huge platform, but it's gained popularity because video has escalated over the years. Now it's like, if you're not creating video content, you're wrong, right? And TikTok. So going down in the order, it's Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook being the last. So it's kind of a fascinating shift. And again, so many people today are on Instagram. So that, again, those smaller communities are so powerful on the Instagram platform. So let's take a look at how much influencers make. Now, hopefully you can see this. I know the screen is a little bit small, so I'm going to kind of read it to you so that you can hear me as well as ultimately looking at the screen. I'm going to focus on those smaller accounts, because that's, in the 1,000 range essentially. And nano influencers on average are making about $100 per post. All the way up to, and the celebrity status can be millions of dollars. But this is what I really want. This is unfortunately the dynamics of where the influencer market is. $100 per post for those smaller accounts. Why is that not more? It's because the influencer doesn't know how to charge. The influencer doesn't know how to negotiate a fair rate for their influence. So they're giving it away essentially. And that's something I'm here to change. So just letting you know, it is a crazy dynamic. Opportunity is there. And it's like, I'll use an analogy here. And this may be, I'll use it. I'm just going to go for it. But my husband has often said, I use my husband because he's like, he's almost always right. Don't tell him I said that. He's not always right, but a lot of times he is. But we've had this conversation about why women and men get paid differently in some scenarios, where a man sometimes gets paid more than the woman for the same job. Irritates me to death, kind of thing. So we had this conversation, and he's like, well, a woman will always undervalue herself, is his opinion. He's like, if I'm interviewing a woman and a man for the same job, and I ask them, hey, what are you looking for salary? A man will always overshoot what he thinks he can get paid. Not always, but a lot of times. He'll ask for the moon, and a woman will undervalue herself. Is it the business's fault that they hire the woman at what she wants to get paid, and they hire the man at what he wants to get paid? Because they're saving themselves money, right? So are they supposed to say, well, no, I want to pay you more? Most people, most businesses won't do that. It's exactly the same thing with brands, y'all. If a brand comes to you and says, well, I would really like to work with you. You don't let them dictate what they're paying you. You don't go to the grocery store and tell, the checkout lady what you're going to pay for a loaf of bread, right? So you have to share your rates. You have to establish those rates. You have to understand that your influence is valuable. And that's why I think these numbers are super low, and it needs to change. Okay. So you have influence, you can charge for it. The numbers that I just shared with you are Instagram's numbers. I pulled a few of them up here. YouTube, YouTube nano influencers are earning about twice that, $200 per video. And, I can tell you what my speculation is on that. One, YouTube videos have a longer lifespan. So brands are usually more likely to invest at a higher per video price point than they would on content that I would say has a limited lifespan. So again, here's just a few price points of where we are today, and why those numbers can be more and should be more. So again, would you rather have invisibility powers or be able to fly with your influence? Do you want to remain invisible and not get paid, or do you want to be able to fly with your content? So all of this content is leading up to a program that I'm getting ready to release, because I really got passionate about. I've been doing this for years already, so it just makes sense in this context. How do you turn the content that we're creating into revenue? How do we turn our authority or our influence that we're creating, small to large, into money? So I am getting ready to release a brand new course that's coming up in the near future. We're going to start opening the doors to it on the 22nd of this month. So if you are interested in getting on the wait list for that, we're going to drop the link in for you, and you can get on the wait list. Like I say, I'm going to be doing content, sharing knowledge about this whole influencer space all week. So I'll be here, same time, same place, in the morning at 10 a.m. We'll probably talk more about how do you actually get your own gigs? Where do you find them? How do you ultimately connect with a brand and start getting paid for the influence that you have? So we're going to talk more about that. So if you go to, in fact, I'm just going to put it on the screen for you. Give me just a minute to type it in. I should have had this done, but I just didn't. It's, I think Rhonda just dropped it in. It's kimgarst.com/authority creator. You can get on the wait list, because I am going to be helping people figure out this whole process. How do you monetize your authority? How do you serve this community of people? Like, we're all content creators, each and every one of us, but a lot of us don't know how to monetize that authority. And there's a need for people to serve this community as well. So get on the wait list. You'll learn more about it. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of training in the in-between, but definitely join us on the wait list. All right. So I'll see you tomorrow morning, same place, same time. We'll talk tomorrow about the actual process. What does it look like to get your own gigs? And hopefully you can take what you learned tomorrow and go get your first gig. All right. Okay. We'll see you guys in the morning. Take care. God bless.